Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're taking a look at a P-Bandai kit here. As you can see by the monochrome box art, this is the HGUC Sinanju Stein unicorn version. So the HGUC Sinanju narrative version we saw not too long ago was a pretty awesome kit, and this is going to be mostly the same, except obviously it's got some different parts on here to make it into the unicorn version. The original version kind of that we're all familiar with in the Master Grade Verka, the original Master Grade that we had of this is the HD version of that. So pretty awesome look here for this. Not really going to be all that different, I think, from the narrative version one. We'll take a side-by-side look at those here just a little bit once the kit is all built up. But let's just take a look around the box here first. As always, big thank you to USA Gundam Store for their support. If you guys want to check out what P-Bandai items are available there on the store, you can check the link there down in the video description down below. And use my coupon code there, ZakuAurelius10, to save 10% off everything on the store, P-Bandai and otherwise. So around here on the box, really not a whole lot to see with this kit. With it being a P-Bandai kit, we basically just have some monochrome artwork there on the front, which is just basically photography of the kit and composite photography over here, and that's pretty much it. This is from the Gundam Unicorn MSV Mobile Suit Variation line, as it didn't actually appear in the anime. So let's get it cracked open here. Now this kit had the retail price around 2,600 yen, so it's a fairly pricey HG, but as we know, the Sinanju Stein is a pretty large mobile suit, so it does kind of make sense. We got a good amount of parts in here. It looks like right off the bat, this runner here is one of our new runners for this kit. On the opposite side, though, a very familiar runner from the HGUC Sinanju, so that one's dating back quite a while. So you'll have parts in here basically from the HGUC Sinanju, from the narrative version, and then some new parts here for this version as well. Looks like there's our rocket bazooka in there as well, some fuel tank parts, and it's basically all going to be pretty monochrome. Like the picture that we saw on the front of the box, even though that's a monochrome photo, it's not too far off from the actual mobile suit because it's a pretty monochrome design. It doesn't really have a whole lot of color here with this kit. So for example, it looks like the manual here gives us the narrative version manual, which you'll use for this, but there's just a couple of different parts that you'll need to use this amendment bit for here. So you'll follow just the normal manual for the most part, which we've already taken a look at in the past when we reviewed this kit. But this is the additional page that you need to pay attention to, and this will show you the different parts that you need to use for the construction there of the chest. Here for the legs, the fuel tank is going to be slightly different there, and then also the rifle and shield are going to be different as well. The rifle, I'm not liking the look of that rifle. That is just two halves slapped together and then a couple parts added on. It's pretty standard for an HG rifle, but for this particular rifle, that's not very cool to see. I wish that they would have broken that up into a couple more parts, because yeah, I took a look at that here, saw that straight away on the runners, and I thought, oh man, I really hope there's more parts to it than just that, but it doesn't look like there are. So anyway, we'll see how it looks, but I think straight out of the box it's probably not going to be looking very good. But anyway, let's just get into the runners then. We don't really need to take a look at the manual here. There's not really too much else to see. We do have the color guide here as well. It's not in color, obviously, but you just got that here in text because the color is going to differ slightly from the narrative version. The narrative version has a more kind of very light bluish gray tint to it, whereas the regular version is pretty much basically white. It's 95% white, 5% gray, so it's just barely off-white. Again, it's going to be the same as the Master Grade essentially. So alright, let's just take a look through the runners. Alright, so starting off very minimal here with the foil stickers. You just got one for the eyes, and then another one there, which I believe goes on the front of the crotch, and that is it. Got PC132 for our polycaps here in gray, a slightly larger polycap runner, the same one that was used with the original HGUC Sinanju. And our standard SB13 144 scale clear pink beam saber effect parts. So for runner A here, this is in our off-white main color there for the armor. As you can see, we've got some Sinanju Stein parts with the additional parts added on there on the side for the new rifle and shield parts. Runner B1 here is just the parts for the fuel tank, and this is in 100% white, so not off-white for these. These are pure white. We've got two of those, obviously. Whereas the rest of that runner here, runner B2, is all in the off-white color for the main armor, and it looks really good. I'm really glad this is in off-white and not in pure white, because it definitely looks much better. You can just see the details a whole lot better when it's just slightly off-white. So we've got two of this B2 runner. Runner C here is in this very nice pale navy blue color, all the Sinanju Stein parts, and we've got the addition of the new part there for the shield in this case. Runner D here is going all the way back to 2010 here for a runner of parts from the original Sinanju, so you're going to be using a few of these parts here, and it looks like you'll probably have all of the parts to make the standard Sinanju's beam rifle, because those won't be used with this kit. But then runner E1 here is back to Sinanju Stein parts. This is going to be the new parts that came out for the Stein, new parts, new joint parts and things like that that were used for the slightly different design for that. We've got runner E1 and then runner E2, which is going to be a copy of this half of the runner over here. Now I do also just want to point out the very slight difference in color between runner D and runner E. Runner D is, I mean, they're both kind of a medium gray color, but runner D is like a warm tone gray, and runner E is like a cool tone gray, so it'll be kind of interesting to see those once the kit is all put together. Runner F, interestingly, carries the runner marking for the Neo Zeong, as this is the parts for the rocket bazooka that were originally made to be included with the Neo Zeong kit, so got all those once again here with this kit as well. And then lastly, runner G2 for some parts in light gray for around on the kit, and that is going to be it. So that is it for all the runners and all the parts. I'm going to go ahead and get this all built up, and then we'll see how it looks. Alright, so here's how it's going to look all built up. Of course, if you've already built the narrative version, then just building this is going to be almost exactly the same. There's a couple of parts you're going to switch, and otherwise, I mean, it's going to be a very familiar build, and especially if you've also built the HGUC Sinanju as well, which has been out for many years now, but it's still, you know, ultimately going to be a very similar build to that, with it being, you know, sharing a lot of the same parts in there, especially like the joint parts and things. Because I've already reviewed the narrative version of this kit, so I'm not going to go over the articulation of it in this video. You'll see some posing and all that, of course, so you'll be able to see some of the range movement that it has. But if you are interested in seeing a more in-depth look into the individual joints of articulation and everything like that for this kit, you can check out my review of the narrative version. But straight out of the box, I mean, the kit is going to be looking good. The color separation on it is very nice. It doesn't really rely on stickers at all for any of the little color apps or anything that it has on there. That said, of course, there's a lot of detail within the white areas of the kit that would definitely benefit from a little bit of panel lining. So I would say get a little bit of panel lining at least on this kit, you know, give it a spray of top coat, and it'll be looking much better. Alright, so just to recap the hand options here, we have just these closed fists, which are very nice. We also have a trigger finger hand and also a open hand for the left side, or a sort of rifle support hand. You'll notice these are in a slight different color because they come from different runners. And we also have two regular holding hands, which can be used for the beam sabers. Now, while you have 6 different hands, you only have 5 different back parts, so you'll have to swap out a part if you want to use both of these at the same time or whatever. And then for the beam sabers, of course, we have our beam saber effect parts here in clear pink. The handles are stored in here in the back of the arm again. So just pop off this part here, and then you can just pull the handle out of there for using the beam sabers. We got the shield here, and just for comparison's sake, here's the shield of the Sinanju Stein version, so you guys can see the difference is basically going to be in the tip there. I much prefer the Sinanju Stein version because I think with the longer ended of the shield there, it just looks a little bit more in size. This like a little bit slightly cropped there at the end of the shield there for the original version. The shield always just ends up looking a little bit small. I think it looks better on this version, but on the Master Grade, I think the shield looks too small for the kit in my opinion, so I definitely prefer the narrative version. But anyway, you'll also notice there's a slight difference here on the back. With this version, you have just the missile stored in there. With the narrative version, you can store the Sinanju's grenade launcher there on the back of the shield, so you can't do that with this. Well, amongst our extra parts for this kit, you do have the full Sinanju beam rifle with the grenade launcher as well. You can't attach that onto here without doing any modification to it. So again, kind of one more thing where it's kind of points to the narrative version, but I guess if you do prefer the missiles in there, this shield is also pretty nice as well. And just on the note of extra parts there really aren't that many, but also among them is the attachment part for attaching the beam rifle, the Sinanju's beam rifle, onto the back skirt, which you could use if you wanted to use that rifle. And then of course you have the beam axes as well, which are cool, but you don't have any effect parts for those. You've also got the bazooka, of course, so nothing different about this from the version that you get with the Neo Zeong or just with the narrative version of the Sinanju. You also have the alternate barrel for this if you are going to be storing this onto the beam rifle, but again, you can't really do that with this version. So let's just take a look at this. Here is the beam rifle. It is all white, and so that is not quite right. It should have a little bit more gray on there, so unfortunately it's lacking some color separation. The detail's all there, so when it's all painted up, it's going to look good. But once again, just for comparison's sake, here is the Sinanju Stein's beam rifle, which is nice because it's sort of built around the Sinanju's beam rifle, so it does give you the option of plugging the bazooka into there like that, which is something really cool that you can do with the narrative version, but again, it's just unfortunate that you can't do it with this version. So I know that's not meant to do that, it's just something cool, like just a cool gimmick that you can do with the narrative version of this. So Anyway, with it being so simple, it's just basically two halves sandwiched together and then one part there for the tip. It should be pretty light, which is good, because the Master Grade has some trouble holding this up because it's so big and heavy. With this version, it shouldn't have any trouble at all. Alright, so taking a look at the two of them side by side, obviously the main difference that you're going to notice straight away is going to be the slight color difference in them, but then the other thing is going to be the sleeves parts. So there for the chest and in for the arms, you'll see that difference in those parts. So that's going to be the main difference from the front. There is one more difference though from the back, and so here you'll notice that the Sinanju Stein narrative version has these longer fuel tanks, whereas the regular version just has the shorter fuel tanks. So either way, I think I kind of like both, so I don't really have a preference for me personally one way or the other. They're both pretty cool. Alright, so then just to wrap up the review, I'll just show you guys a few different action poses here, showing off the different weapons and things. And so pretty much there's not really a whole lot too much to say about this kit that I haven't already said in the review of the Sinanju Stein narrative version. While I think the weapons, the gimmicks in the weapons of the narrative version do give you some more play options. They give you like some nice gimmicks there with the weapons, while this one doesn't really have the same gimmicks there that you can do really so much with the weapons. But if you did prefer the original Sinanju Stein here, basically a 1/44 scale HGUC version of the Master Grade Verka, then you've got that here, so that's nice that you have that. But still, between the two, I think the narrative option is probably still going to be the better buy, the one that I would recommend to people, just because it has some more cool weapon options that you can do with that, where essentially for the most part they're going to be otherwise the same kit. But either way, you're not going to go wrong with this kit. I mean, it's a really great kit, whichever version you end up going with. It's really fun to pose. It poses really nicely. It's really solid. You don't have any loose parts on there. You have a lot of nice details. You have pretty much like almost nothing in the way of seam lines on this, other than maybe something that might be on the weapons. That's pretty much it. And like I said, while the beam rifle on this one may be missing a lot of small little color apps on there, just being one big solid white chunk of plastic, it's very light, and the joints of the kit are really solid, so it can hold up the beam rifle with no problems at all. So you can do some really awesome action poses there with that gigantic beam rifle that this thing has. So that's really awesome. So when it comes down between the two, while I may still recommend the narrative version to you guys, as far as any cons of this kit, there's not really anything too much to say, anything negative about the kit. It's a really fantastic kit, other than just the fact that it's a P-Bandai, so it's going to be a little bit more expensive. But if you want it, if you can get it at a good price, I would say definitely go for it. If you guys have any other further questions about the kit, though, of course, feel free to ask and leave your comments there down below. What do you think about the kit? How does it compare to the Master Grade Verka? Obviously, there's going to be pros and cons between the two of those as well. Comparing them, anytime you're comparing like a really great HG and a really great MG, there's going to be pros and cons. But I think, again, you probably just can't go wrong either way. So, as always, thank you guys to Gundam Store again for their support, and thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye, guys.